Today we're going to be talking about how to make a paper mache project. Now first I'm bending a piece of aluminum foil into the shape of a snake. If you have aluminum foil at home you could do this too, but you do not have to make a snake if you don't want to. If you want to try to make another animal, a person, some sort of food, anything that you can think of you can bend into. It's up to you. But I'm just forming up the mouth right now of the snake. I made the body. I'm also going to make a kind of curve like this. Maybe lift up the head, have it arching up. This is the first step of your project. Next we're going to be talking about how to make the paper mache mix. So we're going to need flour and water for this step. Yep, that looks good. I'm gonna keep my snake looking like that. So I'm gonna get a plastic bag because this next step can get a little messy. I also have a container to mix my paper mache mix in, but I have 1 cup of flour. And then I'm also going to add 2 cups of water. Now, you don't have to add this much flour and this much water if you don't want to. The combination is basically 1 part flour and 2 parts water. So if you did 1 teaspoon of flour and 2 teaspoons of water, that might even be enough for you. But if not, you could always just add more. So I mixed it up. Make sure you try to get as many clumps of the flour gone and mixed into the water. Next I'm going to take some paper. I'm using some old mail, but if you use old mail, please do not use anything that's really glossy like this that feels like a photo. You want to use paper that feels pretty dry, kind of just like regular computer paper, so this stuff will work just fine. So I'm going to rip off a small piece of this and dunk it into my flour water mixture, so my paper mache mix. And then when I get it out of the water, I'm going to wipe some of that water off because otherwise it's going to be really wet. And I'm going to start to layer that on top of my snake. So I'm going to start at one side of the paper and work my way around all the way to the other edge of the paper, just like that. And then really try to smooth the paper onto the surface of the aluminum foil. And then I'm just going to take another piece, dunk it into my water flour mixture. This piece was a little big for me, so I'm going to rip this in half again. I'd probably do pieces that are about the size of your thumb. It would work just fine. But again, just working at one side of the paper, smoothing it around to the other side of the paper. When you do this, you want to try to cover up all the aluminum foil as best as you can. I'm going to speed this up so that way you can see what it looks like when it's done. My snake is completely covered in paper. Once this is complete, the next step is going to be to put this in an oven. So I would preheat your oven to the lowest setting. My lowest setting is about 200, so somewhere around there should be fine. But you don't want to cook this on high because otherwise it could burn. So please put it on the lowest setting. So now that my snake is done, I put a very small amount of cooking oil under my snake so that way it wouldn't stick to the pan as much. If you don't put cooking spray, it'd probably be okay, but it might stick to the pan a little. And then I'm going to stick this into the oven. And I want to check on this project every like 5 to 10 minutes when it's in there. If it still looks wet, I'm going to keep it in there for another 5 or 10 minutes, but only put this in for like 5-10 minute intervals. So after about a half an hour to like 45 minutes or so, my project was completely dry. and it's hard now. So now I'm going to be able to paint over the surface. But you want to make sure that when you do this, make sure your surface is completely dry. Again, checking your project every 5 to 10 minutes in the oven, making sure that it doesn't burn. So I'm going to start to color over the surface of my snake. I'm using permanent marker, but if you want to use something like paint, you can too. Like acrylic paint or tempera paint would work really well on this. But I'm going to make my snake with black stripes going all around the surface of the snake. And you can see I drew the little eyes on it already. I'm going to speed this up so you can see what it looks like when it's done. I'm just making more stripes. This is what my snake looks like when it's done. So thank you for watching my video, everyone. If you're interested in doing these, again, I love to see how they turn out, so please send me a picture. But I will see you next time. Alright, bye everyone.